I'm going to call the February 4th, 2025 Hancock County Commissioners' regular meeting to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I'm going to move to accept the agenda as presented with the exception of moving sheriff.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any public comment this morning? Brittany, you see anybody out there that was flagging you down?
I'm sorry, sorry, I'm Sandy Walsick with the Nature Conservancy here to talk about the Makeover Mill thing, Makeover Mill project. So I'm not sure if that would be considered public comment or not.
Ma'am, we have that on the agenda and you're coming right up in just a minute or so, okay?
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. In fact, we go to approval of the minutes.
And I move to approve the minutes of the January 22nd, 2025 Commissioners' Special Meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unorganized territories, you have Millard's monthly report in front of you. Millard, any additions?
No, sir.
I'm going to move to accept and file the UT monthly reports presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And now we have the access easement to discuss from the Natural Conservancy. Morning, Millard.
Good morning. They changed the wording on the easement, to change it to solely for pedestrian and vehicular public access, snowmobile access, and for access by organized all-terrain vehicle and utility terrain vehicle clubs that are registered with the state of Maine that have current use agreements with the grantor. And in this instance, that would be the two clubs that we do the state ATV grants with.
Okay, so the language we have provided is the current proper language, Millard?
Yeah, the attorneys tweaked it a little bit, but it's, yeah.
But we can sign this document, yes?
All right, and I'm going to move to approve the access easement between the Nature Conservancy and Hancock County for an access easement for the McCover Mill Bridge. But how do I say it?
Narragansett.
Say it again.
Narragansett.
Narragansett River Road as presented and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
By way of discussion, Sandy, do you have current use agreements in place right now with any ATV or snowmobile clubs?
We do. We have a current use agreement with the Acadia area ATVers. We do not have one with, I believe you mentioned someone mentioned the airline club does not have an agreement with us. We're happy to make one with them as well. So.
Very good. So Millard, that would be between the clubs and the Nature Conservancy, or should the clubs be contacting you?
I think that should be between the clubs and the Nature Conservancy. I don't think we need to get in the middle of that part of it.
I'm just curious, should we let them know?
Yeah, I can let the clubs know. That's not a problem.
Okay,
I don't know the contact Sandy.
yeah, why don't you do that and give them Candy's contact information?
Yeah, we would be happy to speak with any club that wants to have an agreement with us for sure.
Very good. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Millard, anything else this morning?
The next question, I guess, goes along with this. The funding, we need to transfer the money from the TIF to give it to the Nature Conservancy.
I guess that's just, you just cut it in. So we don't approve TIF money, do we?
No, but it'll be a matter of me doing the check and you'll sign the warrant probably at your next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Millard, if it works, so we do need to register with the Hancock County Registry of Deeds, so I can, I've got to figure out that process and then I can bring that to you afterward when it's fully registered. Is that?
Okay.
Great.
Anything further, Millard?
That's all I've got. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Sandy.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the airport, you have airport manager's monthly report.
Good morning.
Leroy, any additions?
Nope, it's, I think I was covered pretty much everything.
All right, I'm going to accept and file the airport monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so the first one is a modification to the general consultant agreement. And the agreement's due to expire in August 4th, I believe. But they had a clause in there that they couldn't sign any contracts after February 4th, which is today. The contract for the SRE building won't be ready, obviously is not ready. So we needed to modify that section only of the general consultant agreement. That's what you have in front of you.
All right, I'm going to approve the modification to the general consultant agreement with Jacobs Engineering Group to extend the ordering period to May 1st, 2025, and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and the next one is the request approval for the project contract with Jacobs Engineering to rehab the service road and that turn that into a taxiway.
All right, I'm going to move to approve the project contract with Jacobs Engineering for engineering to rehabilitate Service Road / reconstruct taxi lane E extension and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one is the project contract for the rehab of the terminal building windows, so we can stop the rain from blowing in.
I'm going to move to approve the project contract with Jacobs Engineering for engineering to rehabilitate terminal building windows and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And the last one is the agreement with Black River Management Butler Conservancy for the advertising the wall space. They've been there now. I think this is like the fourth year that they got a big poster on the wall in the terminal building.
All right, I'm going to move to approve the lease and operating rights agreement between Hancock County and Black River Management Company LLC and Butler Conservation Inc. for advertising wall space and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 That's all I got, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to EMA. Is Andy there this morning? See him on?
He's waiting in the waiting room.
Andy, you with us this morning? You have a report in front of you.
All right, I'm going to move to accept and file the EMA reports presented.
I'll second that.
So before you take action, I think he wanted to
Okay.
add something or expand on something with that.
With the,
Yeah,
the one we wanted to know.
sorry, he made changes, but I believe that's what he wanted to do.
I'm gonna defer the vote on that motion from. While we're waiting for Andy, if you gentlemen have a chance to review the job description that was amended for his deputy.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any questions or comments? Michael, have you reviewed this?
Did review it.
Is there a change in compensation?
Not that I recall.
No, no, Commissioner, there is
Oh,
not.
good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
No change in compensation? Andy,
No.
back onto the report, please. Any additions, deletions, or comments?
None.
Then, gentlemen, now, any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Job description, we have no comment on that, Andy. We understand it, we reviewed it. Anything you want to add or delete from that?
No, thank you, though.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Did I already? We didn't do the motion yet. That's right. I want to move to approve the updated emergency management deputy director and planner job description as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Andy, anything else this morning?
Not unless you have questions regarding my monthly report.
We're all set with that, thank you.
Great. And then last year, the commission was kind enough to approve our engaging with a Hanley intern through Bowdoin College. That didn't materialize due to lack of housing for the intern. Maine CDC has approached us again if we would serve as the fiscal agent for doing that. It's cost neutral to the county. And I'm told them that I would need to check with you. I don't think it requires a vote, but I'd like to at least make sure you're aware that we're going to repeat what we intended last year.
Thank you.
Very good, Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have moved the discussion on the canines to the, after the discussion, executive session with the union, we'll discuss it with them at the time.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to the jail.
This is our intern that has decided she wants to fill the vacancy that we have. Just looking to promote her to full-time.
Sounds good. I'm going to move to approve the promotion of Victoria Watkins to full-time corrections officer effective February 8th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anything else? All set? So we'll move on to maintenance. You have Dennis's report. Is it that? Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it?
No, I think he's coming next one. I haven't seen it.
I'm going to move to accept and file the maintenance monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. RCC, good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Jim.
You have Bob's report. Bob, anything to add?
I'd say we've seen quite an increase in structure fires this last month, which is a little different than past years, but pretty much the new phone system seems to be working. The recording is a little, numbers seem to be off this month. So I segue into my question of, for the report that I provided you, would you like to see something different? You know, it's kind of a yummy system.
Now you have the best report.
Oh,
I mean, like the numbers and
Aye.
something different. I always like to ask them to be attention. Sometimes it's not good.
what's wrong with it? Thank you very much.
All right, we did our motion there yet. I move to accept and file the RCC monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Monthly bills and warrants.
Pardon?
You have the monthly bills and warrants.
I'm with you.
I'm going to move to accept and approve the monthly bills and warrants as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful.
So the first item, I'm requesting permission from the commission to approve the hire of Joshua Griffin of Eddington, Maine here as a full-time human resource manager. Starting wage is $74,000 effective March 1st, 2025, which would be that Saturday.
75,000.
74 is what I put down and discussed with him, but we had talked about if he completed his term, he'd go at 75.5 with 6 months. Now, you can start out at 75.5 if you want, or 75, that's entirely up to you. The final offer letter that I gave you has not gone to him yet, which is contingent upon your approval.
74 is fine. Just
And I'll also note that he did successfully pass the first kind of phase of background check. So if we did a more exhaustive one to allow for like the FBI check, spelling and all that, then he can still have to go through that. But he has passed through our normal background checks as well. And he does hold the military security clearance as well, just as a side note.
Further discussion?
I'm going to move to approve the hire of Joshua Griffin of Eddington as full-time human resource manager at $74,000 per annum per the offer letter effective March 1st, 2025.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
You're confident in the
I'm very confident. I think we had a committee of 7 unanimous. He has experience for several years. His recommendations, preferences were stellar. We're very excited about this opportunity, hopefully, so.
sounds good.
I think I'm the only other one here from the committee, so the interview process went really well. He's very positive. Really, I think we're hoping he'll be a good fit.
Great. He also has an awareness, he hasn't been involved with county government, but he is aware of government and how that works and budgeting and financing and all those things as well. So it's an added bonus.
So the process is that you give him this employment offer.
So basically, we send him the employment offer letter, he would notify me whether or not he's going to accept. And then essentially he just moves on and responds to his employer to let him know that he's given his notice. And his last day will be the end of February.
I know it shouldn't come under commissioners' comments, but I think I'll make it now. And ask you to remind me, let's put on the agenda for a future meeting, a discussion about a policy. And the discussion will be basically this, that we will basically have 2 votes to employ somebody. The first one will be to approve the offer of employment. Then at some point, when they clear everything, then we get another vote to employ. We can have full discussion later, but just remind me on that, Michael.
And at this point, again, based on the normal protocol, he would have passed through everything we had except for you at this moment. So because we were able to get that done yesterday afternoon, then, the basic background check and all that stuff, we would have nothing else. And we haven't decided yet. That's another internal discussion about how much exposure to those records and other things that the HR person would have, so.
So we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
So got to register.
So, you have in front of you a request from the animal control, his phone that we've issued, the county issued US cellular phone, we've kicked around a number of different ideas, but he is dropping calls, not having calls come in, that he's not receiving reportedly, and this has led to him missing, and most recently, an emergency call, that obviously the sheriff's department would have liked to have had him been able to respond to. He's frustrated because he feels like people are throwing it back on him and had actually taken some verbal lashings from, in his opinion, from the sheriff's office for not responding. And he's getting frustrated. And he said, basically, he's thinking that if the county can't give him the equipment that works, then, he doesn't want that to reflect poorly on
So one of the things he mentioned is this option is a little more expensive, obviously, than I think any of us would have liked. But it eliminates this question, hopefully, of him not having coverage at his home. And of course, a lot of these calls, or some of the more major ones, usually do come in later in the evening when people are at home or when he's at home. So looking for direction, I know they had given a couple suggestions. I had asked him to do his settings with his cell phone to make sure that he had done what they had recommended. And he has, and one of the other things I had asked him to do was check the secondary market just to see if he could get anything cheaper. But you had a couple prices that were given there, the $1,299 was the installation and the equipment. And then the other price was just essentially for the WeBoost home system, was close to $400.
So when I looked at it, there's the three line items there. So to me, where it's really good. It's got the mobile one for the car, which seems like, sure, $200. And then there's the, it's like listed as the home, not the room one. Which you're not supposed to be using the room one and the home. It's the ones of the entire house. It's like if you're just trying to get better reception in a room. So we're not gonna pay for a room. We're doing the whole house, right?
That's my understanding what this was supposed to be.
Yeah, so to me, I have a motion that says move to approve the purchase of cellular signal booths from US Cellular at a cost not to exceed $1,500, which would be the car component and the whole house installation, essentially.
I have a question. Does he have Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, but internet at the house?
It's my understanding he does.
And he can't receive calls over Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I think that was part of the different things that he was asked to try to do. But he's not getting signal enough to
From a quick
get those.
look at what the product is, I think it seems to use to some degree the Wi-Fi to boost the signal too. Like I didn't like to get into the details of it when I was looking at it, but that's what I gathered from it is it's the booster is somewhat using Wi-Fi to somehow boost the signal or to supplement the signal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert, but essentially
That's what it looked like to me.
kind of what I understood is that they kind of go to a degree hand in hand, trying to make it so that you get a greater.
What about a different carrier?
Well, we talked about doing that as well. There's been numerous requests asked about, well, I won't say numerous, but different departments have requested a provider that other, especially in the law enforcement arena, that people have done. So we did talk about maybe making that a test case and just getting one for him directly and seeing what happens. And that could lead into further discussions about whether or not it makes sense to switch over to a carrier, but that would essentially be for everything because, you know, I don't think on the long term, we're looking to keep multiple cellular service carriers that we have to coordinate here, so. But we've talked about this, I mean, and this is the best, as far as I understand, offer that US Cellular can throw out there. And even then, I mean, that's the other part, no guarantee. Guarantees.
Is there a monthly cost?
That was not mentioned. Did they say anything to you as well?
With this?
Well, yeah, with this particular, yeah. I understood this was just for this, to get the equipment and then you could access it and then the normal monthly charges were. Monica did help me because I was on vacation when this popped up, so she talked to them and she handled the phone trackings here for the county as well, so. But yeah, I didn't get a sense that there was any ongoing costs associated with that.
Yes, the money in the budget, ACO budget.
So this would put us a couple hundred or maybe 300 or 400 over, depending on how that comes in of the equipment line item. We relatively have pretty much up-to-date equipment. There's only one other thing that we have to replace, I know of. So I mean, there'll be a small overdraw, but we probably do definitely have other areas where we won't overextend the overall department budget with that. So.
Well, my personal feeling is it's just, this job is a little tentative right now with the lack of work. And I think if we don't need to aggravate this anymore. So if this takes care of that problem, I think it's money well spent.
So if I can real quick, just to add, because you make a good point, I'm trying to follow up here but, I mean, it looks like we have 3 communities right now that are, well, 2 for sure that aren't coming back into the program, 1 including Stonington. And, we had another one that was just told again this morning, they were waffling about coming back because their person fell through. And then, and this may not necessarily be tied, I'm not saying it's a performance issue, but again, communities are looking at their budgets and saying, well, I gotta pay 2,500 up front, and then I gotta pay somebody. Well, if I can hire Joe Schmo in town to do it, and Joe will just be paid for what he actually responds to, then we can do that. This one community that's kind of been waffling, they had apparently asked one of the other department heads just to relay that if they did come back, they wanted to see if the commissioners would kind of modify the agreement to indicate that that the ACO wouldn't be responsible for following up on lost dogs or something, I think it was as well. So I mean, you've even got ones now that are trying to cut their exposure as well. So I'm hoping that's not a trend, but the fact that we gained a couple and then really lost 4, but Blue Hill was here for like 3 months until they found somebody. So I mean, that's kind of a loss really.
I tell you, history I have with law enforcement contracts, we had one community where we divided because the crime rate was supposedly high. We get down, there's some things down, things would be quiet, like people would say, why are we paying for all this? It's so quiet. Then when things got out of control, they'd hire it again. And so I think here they are paying 2,500 for our service. Somebody in town says, geez, I'll do it. So they drop it. That time last year, you know, then he gets up, they have no place to go. And so I wouldn't be surprised there's be a pendulum that swings back and forth over the years.
I think you're probably right, I suspect.
We have a motion on the floor that hasn't been cited to approve up to 1,500 for this fix.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Gentlemen.
Joe was supposed to be here this morning. Anybody know what time?
Right now, he says that. I'm talking to Joe right now. He said that everything was ratified last week and he was not made aware to come today.
Okay.
Michael, I did get an email, said everything was.
Yeah, ratified. So I don't have any indication from him, like I indicated in my agenda memo, it was to have it there in case the vote didn't go through, 1, and then 2, with the commissioners, because you had reviewed it, if there was anything that you needed to modify, then I needed to go back and but big thing is to make sure that it accurately reflects what you understood the agreement was. Same with Tim, especially since I wasn't here last meeting to be a part of that. So, but yeah, I haven't heard from him otherwise either, other than that, just he said they voted for it. So if you're okay with it, then I'm assuming you could vote on it and then we forward it to him. And if he's got objections, he'll get back to us, I'm assuming.
Do we have a printed copy of that? We don't. Send it to us.
Yeah, email you copy of
I have
that.
a few
But-
printed copies as well.
Yeah, she
We have some. So I have a review this. I take it to.
The drafts and then, or the real thing and then the
Yeah.
adjustments.
I've given you 2 different things. One was a list of the proposed changes, and then I inserted all that language in the final agreement as a clean agreement as well, so. And the only thing I wasn't 100% sure was the statute reference dealing with lie detector tests, but I mean, that's pretty straightforward because the statute has been appealed, replaced with that other number, so. Not sure why we need that to correct.
And all your information was taken from the TA that we.
Basically, the TA sheet that Brittany had provided to me, and you double check that when I entered it in, and I did send it around to Tim and as well, so unless anybody else saw something that I missed or misunderstood, but.
So gentlemen, we have, sounds to me like two options. One of them is to approve and sign today. The other one is simply to approve. And after we get it signed by the union, it will sign it. Which way do you want to go if you're all set? Okay, we'll sign it. Okay, so what's your pleasure? Move to, let's see. Move to approve the agreement between the Teamsters Union local number 340 in Hancock County for the GL unit for the time period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027 as presented.
I'll second that.
Is there any language in here that makes that retroactive back to the first?
So there was one that you had written in that retro back to January 1st or the first pay period.
Is that in here?
That is in, should be right in the final document up under the wages, which is like 25 or in that area.
So that's retroactive, and then the weekend stipend will be effective the next, start of next pay period, correct, Tim?
That's what it sounded, whereas I was talking to Mary yesterday about how we're gonna make that work, and she was, I think she was gonna reach out to Paychecks to see how we're gonna make that work.
And the differential, I think, is upon execution of the agreement. So arguably, I think what we've done is said they've got to sign it too and send it back to us so we know that they, so that kind of.
So it'll be when it's official.
Yeah, so Joe sits on it for a couple months, which may or may not have happened in the past. Then, we haven't activated it until we knew we had a signed copy from both parties. And that usually means that obviously the union stewards keep following up with it and make sure they get it signed, so.
Well, that's
They have like
good incentive to sign it and get it back. Sometimes
Because the union
incentives don't.
stewards thought he was going to be here today to sign this and be done the way they took it, so I'm sure they're gonna get this done by next meeting, they'll have this signed by next meeting.
So the issue he has is even if he signs it, he still has the treasurer, the president, he still has like 3 other signatures that he has to get as well. And we've done that before, where we waited for them, but it's just either way, it's the same way. I mean, they have to get it done before we can do it.
And the weekly stipend was just a fixed amount, correct?
50 cents an hour for the hours that they work on the weekend from 5 o'clock Friday night till 5 o'clock Sunday.
So there
That's
is,
Monday morning.
It's Monday morning, yeah, Monday.
there is an accounting then of how many hours. Okay, Mary, Mary.
Yes, because they punch anyway, so we know what their hours are, so.
We just don't know how we're gonna document. And it's my understanding of that this has nothing to do with our hourly rate. This is just a 50-cent stipend per hour, not if they're in overtime, they're not gonna get 75 cents, they just get 50 cents for an hour that they work on the weekend. That's why I explained it to her that I interpreted it.
But as Michael mentioned, we can't, nothing can go into effect till we have the
Correct.
fully signed.
Which is good. I mean, it's gonna probably take her a few days to figure out how she'll make that work anyway, so.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So now we're gonna move back to item of discussion and possible acceptance of the patrol unit contract MOU for the canine handler compensation.
So as Commissioner Clark stated, the first topic, I think obviously we need to be decided before we even entertain the second one, so. You would have received a letter that was provided in advance. detail and the union's position on the two K-9 units. K-9 units was discussed briefly during the last meeting. One of the concerns was the financials, the cost to pay that additional handling. So the union went back and said, we do believe that it is a valuable asset to the sheriff's office and also the citizens of Hancock County. And we took what we believed was a proactive stance to address those concerns that was outlined in that last meeting. As you would see in the document that was provided, and I have some additional copies if you would also like one. But as you'll see in that document, the current contractual language that we are looking to amend would ultimately cut the wages back for the two K-9 handlers. And in doing so, it would be cheaper for the county to maintain two K-9 handlers versus the one under the current contractual language. Once again, obviously, and when it comes to unions, it's probably fairly rare that we present an option to take less money, but we do believe it is an asset to the department and the county. To touch on that, I won't go through the entire document in detail, but some of the information that was not in there, I did take the liberty of compiling some of the information in a little bit further detail as far as those calls for service that was provided to you last week. As Commissioner Clark had mentioned last week, as far as Ellsworth PD and Bucksport being the two other agencies in Hancock County that do have a K-9. As I had mentioned, those K-9s aren't always available. For reference, since January 1st of 2023, our K-9s have responded to or have been utilized in the city of Ellsworth 28 times. During that same time period, from January 2023, our K-9s have also been utilized or have been responded to 21 different towns or cities throughout Hancock County. To put it into perspective, how much of an impact the K-9s actually have and are utilized throughout the entire county and all the citizens. As I mentioned, a lot of these calls, or whether it's to track suspects for domestic violence or people that have gone missing or wandered from their house. And it is a significant impact and benefit to Hancock County, and we believe that the proposal and the MOU and the contractual language that we're looking to amend is a benefit for the citizens to provide that additional service, but also for the taxpayers and you as the commissioners as well. We are looking to provide the same level of service for less than half the cost, or the cost of just one K-9.
I think he came up with a pretty awesome response and solution, in my opinion. Really happy with it.
Thank you.
Just so you know.
It took some legwork, and obviously, the union did take a vote on it. They did vote unanimously as another measure to show our commitment and what we do feel is important. And we do, obviously, we don't want to take a step back, but we feel that this is important. Again, for the citizens, it accomplishes the goal that you were looking to do with keeping the financials and expenditures in mind. And we feel that it continues to provide that level of service. The last thing I would mention too, a little bit of icing on the cake, is these wages, in addition to, as I had mentioned, the structure that we are proposing, it would be less of a cost than that one K-9 handler. But in addition to that, the other component to that is if you have two K-9s, there's also less of a frequency in which you'd have to call out a K-9 because you have more coverage naturally. So there will be, I mean, that's a little bit harder to throw a dart at, but naturally there'll be a little bit of cost savings there as well.
Well, the problem still remains the cost. Solution you have here for addressing the cost of canine handling compensated for taking care of the dog reduces that by 15,000. But gentlemen, the training, just the initial training for canine is 480 hours. Now, we don't know who's going to take that, which deputy, the average there is like $36 an hour. You take that $36 an hour times 480 hours, telling us average health insurance, like the FICA, workers' comp, and whatnot, you're talking $40,000. This officer's time, wages, and benefits that's going to be devoted to training officer just to become a canine deputy. And then he's going to have 24 hours every year of in-service. And that $40,000 doesn't include the cost of the training, for housing, for accommodations and so on. And it's just a very expensive endeavor to, first of all, to get started. And second of all, it's an added expense in the sheriff's department to maintain. I would not be opposed if we hired a new deputy like John Stanley, they brought a dog and we could get that for, what, I think we paid $7,000 or $8,000 for Jones. I wouldn't be opposed to that. That was a good opportunity. But, I mean, at a time when their deputy shot, they got 2 in the academy, so there's 3 people shot. They're gonna designate the guy and they're gonna send him away for 3 months or more. Training and whatnot. It's just, to me, it's short-sighted. And I'm just unequivocally opposed to having a second dog. So I'm going to oppose having this second dog. They can address the concerns about the training.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the training, there are a couple different training programs, but we have gone with the state police training program. That is also the one that we would intend to go to or go with at this very point in time. Part of the reason why we would do it now and part of the reason why I brought this back to you in this very next meeting is because that training program begins in March and they hold that school once a year. So we would like, and our intentions are to do this so that we don't have a lapse in having no canines. As we discussed in the last meeting, and I didn't oppose it or I didn't dispute it at all, canine Finn that's assigned to Travis Frost, he will retire in this calendar year. And if we don't have another canine and we don't send them to school this year, then that school will not occur until the spring of next year. And then once again, they go through the training. There is a lapse of several months where we do not have any canines. And as I've mentioned several times, the importance and the benefit of them. Additionally, though, when it comes strictly to the training expense, Commissioner Clark references those wages while that deputy is gone. And one thing I would remember or bring back to your attention is that if you look at the budget for last year, and this was also discussed during the budget season, is that one way I was able to immensely curb that expenditure as far as wages last year was the canine handlers being flexible with the scheduling. And I was able to really save a substantial amount of money by shifting days here and there and so forth. Another thing that I would say is that number that Commissioner Clark throws out, the hourly wages of $36 an hour. I haven't sat down and done it, but I would strongly disagree with that, basically, based off of my wages, a couple pay grades up. And I know I'm not making much more than that, so for that reason, I would disagree with that. But as far as the training costs go, that $40,000, we have the ability to look at our staffing in our sections, and I am confident that you would not see an immense tsunami of overtime to fill this person's shifts. We would structure it in the same manner that I did last year. I would look at the scheduling, and I'm confident that we would be able to do this for a reasonable expense, and it's not going to break the bank per se by any means. The proposal that we have brought to you, we feel is targeted towards that, and as Commissioner Clark has said, he's unequivocally opposed to a second canine. I think he's made his position on that clear. Like I said, these canines are a benefit to the citizens of Hancock County by and large. 21 towns and cities they responded to. We've addressed the financials from the last meeting and incentivized it for the county to maintain two. And it also does provide a better service to the citizens of Hancock County for less money than what it was under the current contractual language to sustain one canine. This whole proposal has been incentivized to benefit the citizens of Hancock County while agreeing to accept less money in the process.
All right, I'm gonna move to accept and approve the memorandum of agreement between the Teamsters Local Number 340 and the Hancock County Commissioners as it relates to the additional language, Article 48, Section 1, for stipend services, special services.
I'll second that.
You know, I find it interesting too that Travis Frost started out the years believing that he was going to get $15,000 additional compensation for handling the dog, and that's been suddenly cut to over 7,000. Interesting that they had even down his road up there to.
Travis actually is one of the individuals that brought it to me initially, and he said that if it was to benefit the canine program and the citizens of Hancock County, he'd take a $7,000 pay cut. Once again, it establishes the importance that we feel it is, and the goal that, or that target that you guys wanted to accomplish by limited expenditures. And we are committed to that to some extent. Obviously, I don't think you have many union proposals to save money or take less money, but in this case, it was unanimous. Travis did bring that to me. I think it speaks on his dedication to the canine program and the level of service that we'd like to provide in Hancock County.
You know, it'd be interesting if you simply go back and start with 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where the sheriff's department expenditure budget was and where it is today. And, you know, at some point, you gotta get a handle on these expenses. Where they ended up in 25, but yeah, there's a 40% increase in the request for a budget for 25 that you know, $1.5 million budget is a lot of money, and it's at some point we just can't continue this level of spending. And this is one of the things that's sure it is. He can talk all day about how valuable the service is. But you know, there's a point here where enough is enough. I mean, $1 million life insurance is a wonderful thing for my life, but I can't afford the $10,000 a year for the premium. And just all the canines in the world, no, bad thing, I guess, but can we afford the cost of it? I'm saying no.
First of all, we didn't have a 40% increase. That number is pulling out of nowhere. Just with all due respect, that
You
we
asked for 40% increase in your budget.
no.
Listen, you don't even know what the figure, just like the hourly figure. I went ahead and took every man that you would have considered,
I'm telling you, it's not accurate.
and
Commissioner Clark.
$36 was.
In addition
Hey,
to
I
that.
got the floor, and $36 was the average for this, for those people who would qualify.
I'm telling you, we did not submit 40% request. In addition to that, you, to your own words, talking about saving expenditures, this does that. It provides an additional service to Hancock County for less money.
It's up to you, if you want to spend this kind of, this level. I'm opposed, John's in favor, so let's call the vote. If you're in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, say nay. And I say nay, motion fails.
Thank you, Commissioner.
County administrators' comments.
I just want a clarification. Since we've not put it on the agenda yet, you haven't really adopted the policies. Today's hire do not fall under this two-step process you want to consider, correct? So, okay, so both of them are actually hired. Okay, just clarity for my sake. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Commissioners, any comments? And I have none.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Discussion, Pardon? All in favor?
Quick meeting.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have adjourned.